Hey, it's Joey Svensson, and you're listening to PWNA, the mixtape era. Bam!
Huh?
Did somebody just fart?
I think that was Hayne.
Did you make a fart noise?
I did. Well, she's a beautiful white girl, Stoy, so that's your wheelhouse.
I already told y'all everything is my wheelhouse.
It is. I love it.
But I'm gonna share something with y'all that I ain't never tell anybody. Maybe my friends from when
Well,
I
it's
was
just
a
me and
kid.
Hayne and
Yeah.
thousands of other
That's
people.
it.
It wasn't like I was like, hey, I'm ready to date again. That's not how it happened. I met someone and all of those sparks and feelings when you sit next to them, all of that happened again. And so I was like, holy shit, thank you, God. Like, I'm able to have this. And then I was like, F me, it's a woman.
That mind, that's God, bro. Like, you can't hide that.
So getting into the host crew,
Oh,
who's the most
what's
metro?
question?
Oh, the host crew? Oh, Joey.
In this episode, you'll hear more about Liz's feelings of isolation when it comes to the church, a topic that led Amy to cry like a little baby in last episode. As I think about it, man, this is a tough episode for Amy to listen to. She also got some anxiety when she heard Stoy's suspicion that she lives with a lot of fear. Nerdy Hayne gives Liz an emotional boost on all of this church hurt by schooling her on spiral dynamics. Is actually kind of cool. It really made her happy. And Stoy shares a beautiful father and son story that he walked through with his boy. Speaking of Stoy, I'm intrigued about his view on God. I asked him on the phone after listening to this, so you think God is like a paper cup, a raindrop, in a Nintendo game? Like God is everything? And I'm not going to speak for Stoy because I'm way in over my head, but his view is more about seeing a balance in this world, that anything that happens or anything that is connected back to God somehow. And the who on the host team would you choose to ride out the apocalypse with conversation starts on this one. And as I think about it, Amy got upset about this one too. Dang, Amy. So the first clip you'll hear right out of the gate is during one of our monthly host hangout when we talk about how certain or uncertain each of us are about God's existence. You'll need it for context when you listen to the rest of the episode. So it's my childhood buddy Stoy, who's becoming my dear friend, my soul sister Liz, and my spiritual twinsy Hayne Griffin.
I demanded, pleaded, called God on promises and was like, you have to show up or like I am done. And he did. And he did.
That's something to really think about. What does it mean that the God of the universe loves me?
Are we saying that our God is bigger than their God or what?
Man, you got my mind going crazy right now.
I just think that is evangelical bullshit.
And I don't fit in their box anymore. So feeling rejected from the church makes me feel far away from God.
If I'm living out the love of God, love of the divine, then in some ways we're unoffendable.
It's wrong to marginalize anybody for any reason.
Sometimes we can just have some things about our perspective that's off until we encounter someone who can challenge our thoughts, have conversations with us, and we just continue to grow and evolve.
I'm with you there. Yeah, I like that.
That sounded like womp, 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 womp to Rob.
I'm a hardcore gospel lover. I do love the gospel. I just think we get it wrong.
Girl, I was so highly medicated, I don't even know if you guys Oh, God, my people.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how certain are you that there's a God in a theistic sense? So in other words, like there's a God that's over all other gods on a scale of 1 to 10. And I would say for me is probably a 9. And I would describe that as I'm not positive, but with what I've experienced in my life, I have nothing else to believe. Like it is my reality. But I always think that there's a possibility that what I think is reality is not. How about you, Amy?
10 out of 10.
Why would you not give there any possibility of not? I like that. I like that it's a 10. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, I just think I've experienced God in a way like to know that he is who he says he is.
Yeah. All right, Matt.
Probably a 0 or a 1.
Matt, come on, dog. Oh.
That's all I got.
That's all he's got. All right, Ellen.
Currently, I don't know. It's sort of one of those out of sight, out of mind things for me. I guess 8 or 9.
Liz?
That's a hard one for me. I don't know. I feel like old Liz would have said 10, like Amy, but now I feel like I'm a little bit unsure. So I don't really have a number.
Okay, that's a very, very wimpy way to answer the question. But you're my sister, so hey, you know. All right, Alex, what about you?
I would say probably like an 8. Totally think God's here and whatnot. But are we considering our God, the God of other gods? It's like our God, like when there's, Muslims and things like that. Are we saying that our God is bigger than their God? Or
yeah,
what?
I'm saying in the theistic sense. So all I'm saying is that there's a God above all gods. So Muslims, Jews, and Christians, they all believe in one God that oversees everything.
Cool. Okay, well, I'm still going to go with 8.
8. How about you, Stoy?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
10.
10?
10 out of 10. I mean, only because of the things I've experienced and seen with my own eyes. Also, knowing that I'm not responsible for me being here. So I know something is higher than me. I can't see it or feel it or things like that, but I feel it in my heart and my spirit.
All right, Hayne. This is going to be interesting right here. I really have no idea what you're going to say.
It depends on the day. Do you want a single number?
Yeah, I mean, just think through averaging your days. If you have a bunch of days.
I'd say 7, 6 or 7.
Wow, 6 or 7. You want to follow that up with anything, or you're good right there?
Well,
no pressure. You can leave it there.
Yeah, we'll just let that sit.
Yep, sounds good.
Marinate. Let it marinate.
So one of the things that I'm curious about, because I had to leave the last meeting early. I think I had to jet out about 9 o'clock. But when I was reading a previous email to the host group, you made Amy cry. Is this what happened?
She was mean. She was very mean.
Yeah.
Like, I was shocked. I was like, wow, Liz. Nah.
No, Joey makes it sound so dramatic. Like I made her cry because I was being mean. I made her cry because of a scenario or a situation, that I had told her about that happened to me that week where I was trying to help out with FCA. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Oh, yeah.
Fellowship Athletes. Okay. So Alex, my wife Alex, did it. She loved it. It was great community with like-minded people. She was a collegiate athlete, so all of it was perfect for her. And when a teacher asked me to help because she wasn't going to be there, nobody volunteered on my hallway, not because I didn't want to, but nobody had responded yet. And I was like, I'll help. I'll do it. And so I went and I volunteered one day, and then she needed help again. And I offered to help. But this time I was asked to fill out a form, and it's inside of our library at our school. On the form, it asked, if you got to heaven and God asked you, why do you deserve to be here? What would you say? The wording was so poor. And then it said, what is your view on homosexuality? We believe that a marriage is between a man and a woman. And it said, blah, 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 all these things that just really did not sound like anything I wanted to be filling out. Obviously, I also knew if I answered it, they would not have me in there. So I couldn't help out. And so they had to cancel it that day because they didn't have anybody to help out. So it kind of sucked that I couldn't help out because I think that they found out that I was married to a woman, and that's why they had me fill that out. If not, the fact that they're having me fill it out anyways is just ridiculous.
Was Amy crying because she's the one that wrote it?
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that angle, Hayne. I know
that was good. That was good. No, she was just like her, little eyes were all swelled up. They had swelled up.
Yeah.
You're asking the wrong person.
Okay. But she's just wiping her face and her tears, and it just upset her.
Yeah.
When
I read the email, I thought, man, what did Liz do to make Amy cry? But yeah, makes sense now. So.
Yeah, she started talking about how Liz was being basically pushed away from the church, and that really got her emotional. And I wanted to dig into it, but I felt like I was talking a lot. So I was just doing some listening, like letting people have the floor.
That's good.
But I wanted to, there's so much I want to say.
It's just disheartening. And I think I don't know if you were there at that point still, Hayne, or not, but Joey was telling me I'm going to have to learn how to separate my relationship with God from the church, because I feel so rejected by a church that at one point was literally everything to me. We're the hands and feet of Jesus. They did everything for me right after Joshua died. I had no idea what was going on around me, but I knew I was being taken care of, and I knew my kids were being taken care of. And it was just the best feeling ever to have. And then to know that that same community, I don't fit in their box anymore. Right. So now I'm cast to the side. I can't, and this is a different group of people, you know, to be fair, this is, you know, FCA, but it's still your church community. Sure. You know, I don't fit in that box anymore for them, so I don't feel like they're there for me. And if they are, I'm going to always feel like there's a motive to, you know, change.
Right, we're going to convert her.
Yeah.
Well, I'm real curious that about that, Liz. Like, do you feel like fitting in their boxes where you are right now? Like, it seems like you had a big transition in life. I don't know your life story. I don't know who Joshua even is. But it seems like there was a shift during that time. So we all graduate from certain parts of our life. We all elevate at certain times. Maybe this is your time to elevate into something else. So you don't have to necessarily see it as a negative, where you're taking something into the next part of your life and say, hey, I grew out of that. I grew away from that. I grew to a different way, and take whoever wants to go with you. And then the people that don't want to go with you, I said they don't want to grow with you. So that's understandable, and it's not really a negative. It's
I know, but sometimes people feel like when you are growing, you're growing away from something that, and they have that negative connotation with it. Like, I'm outgrowing what I was taught and I'm going somewhere down the wrong road. Whereas I feel like I'm growing into something that looks much more like what Jesus would want in a community or in any kind of a lifestyle that I would have, just to create this life that I have that's just wonderful, just like my life was before. But now I feel like I have grown, and the people, like you said, that want to grow with me, that's great. But the people that don't want to grow with you, I feel like they think that you have fallen away from what you were taught, whereas I feel like I'm moving closer to what looks like a life that Jesus would want me to have, and around people, surrounding myself around people that look and act maybe not necessarily more like Jesus, but like Jesus, in the sense that they are much more all-inclusive and loving and don't have ulterior motives or want to, you know, change anybody or put them in a box or have them fit this black and white standard that so many people like to go by.
Were you ever that way?
Yeah.
So it's so beautiful that you can grow from that and look at that and see it. And I would love to be in that situation where I feel like God puts in my heart to help somebody elevate or get to a different, I don't want to say elevate like I'm higher or better than anybody, but to grow. Because I think God, Jesus, I think all of it is all encompassed. I think everything is all encompassed of love, because love has so many different dimensions to it.
Yeah.
And when you limit it, that person is limited. It's not you.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not you. So I see that as an opportunity, especially with the way you vibrate. Like you have a very vibrant aura. Just sitting on the camera and talking, like when you speak, you cover, like you make people cry. You know what I mean? Like you're that's power to me. That's powerful. So that's an opportunity to help somebody who can't see how big your light is to grow. That's an opportunity to help them see how much more beautiful you feel as a person.
That's good. Are you guys familiar with spiral dynamics? I want to hold this up. So it's like a spiral with different colors, and the taller colors in the image And just to kind of describe it, it just looks like almost like a pig's tail. And then, it looks like a turquoise at the top and it spirals down. This was developed by a couple of psychologists, but the whole point or the whole idea of spiral dynamics is that these are different levels of human consciousness. So as we grow, as we suffer, as we evolve, and our minds begin to change and evolve, we kind of move up the spiral, and they just assigned it different colors to differentiate between the two. But most people, the psychologists say, sit in blue, and the blue is order. That's where they sit in order.
That's where they feel comfortable.
That's where they feel comfortable. And normally what bumps somebody out of order is a intense suffering that then expands their worldview because they realize that they're not in control.
Oh my God, I feel seen by this diagram, Hayne.
And then you start to move up to higher levels of color. And that turquoise is that completely holistic place where you experience love and connection in every person, every living thing, from a plant to a puppy.
And until somebody hits that green, which for the people that aren't able to see it, it's like that middle zone. Right. And green, I don't think they are going to continue to grow or learn what it's like to be in somebody else's shoes or to understand where other people are coming from until you're experiencing something. Yeah. It doesn't, trauma like what I went through. It could be your whole life turning upside down, like Alex realizing, okay, I can't marry this man and I have to end this marriage or engagement. But until you hit that middle green zone, or for like you and your wife, when you had that huge bomb come at you with her health scare, until you hit that zone right there, you are just kind of chilling and you're in this order that feels comfortable. And as much as it sucks, the parts that we have to go through, I'm also grateful for the fact that it helped me grow, because I don't want to be where I was. Right. I don't wish that I was still there. And I don't mean to say like, it's almost like this is a horrible, like lack of better words, like that small-mindedness. They're in this bubble that they have no idea has so much more, surrounding it, that they have their little structure that they're used to and that they're comfortable with. And if anything is different from that, it's like warning, warning, warning. But then when they go through it, happens to them, when their child tells them they're gay, or when they have somebody tell them that they're going to have X amount of months to live, or when they say, hey, they didn't make it, that's when that's when they grow.
Did you experience that story when your son came out to you? That kind of kick into a new way of thinking, a new way of being, of seeing?
Man, I'm different. I'm a different being. When my son came out to me, for me, it was more about allowing him to experience that, because I know my son, I raised him, so I know how much it took for him to come out and say that to me. What was going on at that time when me and him was going at it. So he was basically, his strength came out of trying to hurt me. Like he was saying it to me because he thought it would hurt me. And it wasn't a big revelation other than he had the confidence to say it. I knew since he was 9 years old. Like he just was different. He was a different kid. I mean, I had all boys, so he was nothing like his brothers, and that's been from start. So this is something I always knew, and just my family wouldn't allow him to ever be that, and I would always push him to be who he is. Like that's all I ever say to him. Like, listen, daddy gonna love you regardless. And that's what you call unconditional love. So I didn't experience any revelation other than, yes, my son he can finally be himself, because he's very, I would say, shy. He keeps things inside. Because until that happened. now, because I already knew what kind of person he was and what he can contribute to the people in his environment and the people that interact with him. But that could never all the way come out because he was holding on to that little secret.
Right.
And I would always push him. I couldn't tell him because I didn't want to ruin that moment for him.
That must have been so hard for you to have that patience to wait for him to say something. I feel like, I'm sure you felt it multiple times. I would have wanted to be like, buddy, it's okay. Like, do you want to talk to me about anything? Do you want to tell me anything? I mean, I can't even imagine how many ways you probably twisted the question to pose to him. But for you to wait, like, that was amazing.
It's incredible. Well, it is a masterpiece of fatherhood, dude. Masterpiece.
No, I had to wait though. Like in order, you can try it with any child, any kid. You can't force them to do anything. Like if you do, they won't ever get the most out of it. So I had to wait until it came to him. I just didn't like that it came what was going on. I was disciplining him for being disrespectful to his mom and things like that. He was just crying and he was like, I want to tell you this, Daddy. And I'm like, okay, we sitting in the car and he was sitting in the back seat crying and he was like, I'm gay. I was like, okay, Tay. And I told him I appreciate him. And then the moment completely changed from us going at it to me telling him, that's all I've been waiting on. I've been waiting on you to be able to say that because I already knew. I know my kid.
I would have been crying.
I'm just feeling it, man, right now. Like, it's incredible.
Yeah, it turned into it was a discipline moment that turned into a beautiful interaction between me and him because I allowed him to get there on his own. It didn't matter what got him there. He was angry and he felt like he can blurt out anything but he got there and I loved it. I loved the moment, but it didn't change me in any way. It just changed our interaction with each other.
No, that's powerful. That's super powerful. Man, what a cool story. I don't think I'd have the patience. That's so cool.
It's like having a secret. I'd be like, I know your secret.
Right.
No, I don't think you would blow up your kid's spot. Like, I don't think either one of you would do that because y'all sound like really patient beings.
Oh, thank you. I think I have you tricked, but
right.
No, you don't. I got you pegged. I couldn't wait to have a one-on-one talk with you when you shared how much you believe in God. Remember when Joey posed that question?
Yeah. Let's jump into that. Let's bring Liz into this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so interested in
what Hayne had
your process, both of yours, but for sure, I feel like I don't know Stoy's story as well as I know yours, knowing how tragedy kind of boosted and I don't know, maybe it started happening a little bit before that, but just your questioning and believing necessarily every single thing you were taught from, being a little kid.
Yeah. Yeah, it did start before. It started when I started the fire department. One of the early calls I went on, and I'm just going to go ahead and tell this. The story's pretty graphic. Are y'all okay with this story? Getting pretty graphic?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay. With it. And this may need a disclaimer with the listener if this ends up making the podcast. But early in my career, I think I'd probably been on a truck for 2 months. I didn't know north from south, my head from my ass. I was so green and so new. And we went on we call them an ST, which means it's a subject trapped. So that's always a motor vehicle accident. And it was right by the hospital, which is the major hospital in downtown Asheville. And when we arrived, it was a couple in the car, a husband who was alive. He was in critical condition, but he was going to survive. His wife was decapitated in the crash. And she was full-term pregnant. So we were right beside the hospital, and it was, we need to cut her out of the car as quickly as possible, get her in the wagon or the ambulance, and get her straight so that they could do an emergency C-section to deliver the child. because obviously mom's breathing and respirations are also what's feeding the baby and giving it the air that it needs. Mm-hmm. So this super, super panicked. I've never seen anything like it in my life. Get her out as quickly as we can. We're moving as efficiently as we can. And unfortunately, the baby didn't survive. They got the corpse to the hospital. They'd had an emergency C-section in the emergency room. The fetus or the baby, it was full term at that point, had passed. And that was the first moment I'd ever experienced something that was that brutal. And it was in my hometown. I kind of think, oh yeah, stuff like that happens in the movies. Stuff like that happens in New York City. Stuff like that happens in, Bogota, Colombia, or, that doesn't happen here. But because it was just so raw and so obviously traumatic, that was kind of the beginning that kicked me into what do I believe? And I was handed a faith, and it's still a part of my faith. But I was handed you cross all your T's and you dot all your I's and you say and do the right things and good things, will happen. And then when I see, innocent people, and that was the beginning of easily 200-300 stories I could tell in a 15-year career. It rocked my faith in ways to say, how am I experiencing God in this? And I still don't know the answer to it, but those are the things that made me begin to question God's goodness in the world. On Instagram, I have an Instagram account and I follow an Instagram page called Nature is Metal. Are you guys familiar with Nature is Metal?
I follow it too.
Yeah. It's cathartic for me. It's cathartic.
Well, now I'm going to follow
it. It's intense.
It showed yes, it is very intense.
Yeah.
But mostly it's animals interacting with other animals in the wild. And it's really graphic.
Yeah. It's predator prey, super, super graphic. Yeah. Stoy hit the nail on the head. And that's really cathartic for me, because when I experience that and I look at some of those things, it's like, oh, we are also a part of that process. We're a part of that world.
Okay. Tell me what cathartic mean first.
Healing. Yeah. Okay. It's just kind of healing for me. It's like
we're not exempt from that animalistic, barbaric world that you're seeing.
Violence
in that Instagram feed. Sorry, that was not the definition of cathartic. I just was blurting out my thoughts in my head.
Context clues works very well for me. So I appreciate all y'all contributing to that word cathartic, because I was like, man, I got to ask him what does it mean, because I don't know.
Yeah.
So I appreciate all the clues.
All righty, folks. Now, some of you regular listeners who are interested in diving deeper with us may enjoy having private access to some more content. Some of it, in my opinion, even better than what's on the main feed. Now, we'd love for you to check it out. I refer to
Joey, you're doing a lot of talking, man. Listen, y'all. Check it, everyone. If y'all want more of this, get that beat. Check the show notes and let's go.
On the B-Sides feed, Joey has little pastoral moments. Dare we say little devotions? Which begs the question, why would anyone listen to a pastor who says he has no answers?
While Joey talks about spiritual things and parenting and stuff, Jed talks about all of the drugs he's done and how they made him feel. Glad he's clean.
But that's just a snapshot for me. But Stoy, I want to hear, because I left you guys a message and you reached out and said, hey, I'd love to respond to that. So I'd love to get your response.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to talk to you about you believing and then doubting the belief because of the things that you've seen. Mm-hmm. In my eyes, I believe that God is everything. Mm. So I take my blessings and I always tell myself, if I come into a lot of money or something, I always tell myself it's either because I was broke at some time or I'm gonna be broke at some time. So I always think of the yin and the yang of everything. I don't limit God to one thing. I don't limit God to just good. I don't limit God to just light. I limit God to nothing. So when I see bad things, I know those bad things are connected to something good on the other side of it, whether it be prior to it or after it. I know the other side of it is coming. So that's why I try to stay even keel with things. I don't get too emotionally attached to what is happening because I know it's a part of a bigger picture. I try to be in the lane where I can experience all the beauty that is God. But when I encounter something that I deem as tragic or ugly, I try to get what I can get out of that as well, because I know God is somewhere in there. So when we put that barrier up, we are unable to experience where God was speaking in that moment. No matter how bad or tragic it was, some kind of light came out of it. And when we turn our heads or we shut down, or that's where we limit ourselves and we can't grow. So like what Liz was speaking about, the people that see the world a certain way and think this is how it is, and I don't want to experience anything else outside of that. I see that kind of mentality as that. When I see something bad, if I turn my head or close my eyes or walk away, walk in a different direction, I don't experience the full thing from that. So I just don't think God is limited to one side of anything. Right. I think God is everything. So understanding that keeps me balanced when I see things that I think is ugly or bad.
So would you say that God is good and bad? Or that God is in the good and the bad? Or
I say God is good, and with good comes bad. So if you didn't have bad, you couldn't have good. You can't have anything all of the time, or it wouldn't exist.
Right. I see what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying? Yep. It's got to have its opposite.
Yes.
And God has to be that.
The opposite is what defines it.
Yes.
Yep.
And think about how you've grown as a person through the trauma that you went through.
Oh, yeah.
So good came out of your trauma. You have to connect that to where you are and how you've grown. Every experience that I've had that was negative, I turned it into something positive.
Yep.
So God had to be in that negative. He had to be in there somewhere. I just got to find what it was. And I start to make the connection quicker the more that I don't allow myself to limit the negative. So I learn from the negative. So it makes it positive for me when it's like real time.
Right.
It's like, okay, I'm already in the mindset that you're not going to turn me away from who I am as a person. You're not going to make me not do the right thing. You're not going to make me not be good. So I make that good. It's like, okay, how can I learn from that? With me, I got to learn. If I learn from something, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
No matter if the learning is something negative. I may learn that I don't want to know that. I don't want to be a part of that. Yeah. But I learned that. Man, like you say so many beautiful things. I'm like, that mind, that's God, bro. Like you can't hide that. You can get upset, you can get angry, but when you say certain things, it's like God is all in that, dude. You can doubt it on Monday, but you ain't gonna doubt it Tuesday.
No, yeah. So I definitely can feel that for sure. And I want to bring Liz into this in a second, but I want to ask a question. You're talking about the bad. Do you believe in a devil? Do you believe in Satan or evil as far as how the bad is brought into the world?
Well, yeah, I believe, like, because of how I grew up in a church, right? And we always put the devil on bad things. Yeah. We always did. Like that was it. Like the devil is in you. It used to be used as a way to make you feel bad about yourself, you know? But the older I got, I just tried to find out why that person, like my mom or I didn't really have interactions with my dad, but the adults in my life, I try to find a reason why that person would say something to a kid in a negative tone, or like what's going on with them. What part of their path or journey got them to a place to say something negative to that child or to me. So I always tried to make the connection, because there is a connection to everything that we go through. So good, bad, God, devil, a lot of that was people not knowing what it was. They just put it into a bracket. So I don't think anybody has all the answers, because nobody has ever died and came back and say, oh, this is what it's like on the other side. Knowing all the answers, it keeps you wide open to know that I think the world is big enough for everybody to be right. Like in some kind of way. I think it is. And we can learn from each other. That's why I try to learn from everybody, because you can teach me something I didn't know, no matter how much I know.
So if you don't know all the answers, though, is it fair to have it be a 10 for 10 on the existence of God?
Yes, absolutely. Because it can be a 1. It could be a 1 out of 10 too. Okay. When you have the mindset that's why I can't argue your number. I can't argue your number. I can't argue Liz's number, because my number is 10. It doesn't mean her number has to be 10. That means my number can be 10. So
I get it.
Just having that mentality, I'm not going to make you change your number. Only thing going to make you change it is your experience. Right. And that will come in time. Your time will come to get the 10. Just like my son time came, your time will come, or your time will come to get the 1.
Or you already had the 10 and then you went down.
That was me. That was me, guys. I'll be honest. Let's see if we can get you to 10 though tonight, Liz. See if we can get you to 10 tonight.
So what's your number?
Yeah,
Liz?
Come on.
I think that I was the one that chickened out and didn't really give a number. However, I do remember thinking the number 8, and then Alex said 8, and I was like, that's the number I was kind of thinking in my head. I think that I relate to what you're saying, Stoy, with sometimes you're going to have the 10 and sometimes you're going to have maybe the 5 or the whatever. Depends on, I guess, what kind of maybe season you're going through in your life. But I guess what you're saying is the 10 is possible. Like you know that there is or could be a 10.
Honestly, I'm saying it's either 10 or 0. You can't believe in something half the way. That means half of you believe in it. So how do you put a percentage on, I think God is real? I think because feet is real. I think God's like, how do you abbreviate believing in something of such great magnitude? Like, if you believe in a portion of them, you believe. Like, if you believe at 2, you believe. I think it's either 10 or 0. I don't even think it could be. I get you.
That makes a little more sense. I think I needed you to describe it about 20 different ways, maybe.
No,
for me to
it was the feet part that got me.
It was the feet.
That's but I understand. Okay. No, but it was really helpful. It was like, so
was it cathartic?
Cathartic, yes, very cathartic. Yeah, okay. I'm calm. I'm healed. I'm calm. But I see what you're saying. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, that any measure of belief you would define as a 10.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess our numbers are like our seasons or moments of doubt, like where Hayne and I would give like an 8 or a 7. I feel like for me, that's telling you it could be a season or just a week or a day where I'm feeling that doubt. And that's where that 8 will come in. Or if I have a moment or a call like what Hayne would get, he might have a horrible call that makes him go into, a season of maybe a few months where he's a 6 and he can't get out of that. And that's like the doubt. So that's kind of where my numbers come in. I see what you're saying. You either believe or you don't. So it's a 0 or a 10. I just have those moments where I'm like, do we even know what we're talking about sometimes? And like, sometimes I just think, I feel like we have it all wrong. And those are my moments where I don't feel confident in saying a 10, but I 100% agree that, I mean, something brought us here. Something is responsible for this creation. And I do genuinely feel there is a love there, but I think we really f***ed it up. And I think that is what is making my brain wonder and question and like to listen to things that like Hayne will say, or anybody else that's gone through any kind of deconstruction where they're not just spewing out the same things that they were told to say. Like, oh, well, you know, the typical thing somebody would have told Hayne and what I would have said 13, 14 years ago. Well, that wasn't God's intention for that woman to be decapitated and for that baby to die. But, you know, we're separated from him. And now this, you know, and going into that whole spiel that you're used to saying, everybody's used to saying the same things when do you guys get what I'm saying? Like you're used
Yeah, I get all
like we're taught those things and I have the right lines. Like I know my lines. Now I don't believe my lines anymore.
Go ahead. Hayne.
Was the Joshua, was his passing, was that the beginning for you? When was the beginning of that for you?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think that my life was I was in that bubble. I was in those first two swirls in that diagram that you showed me. I had my mom, I had my dad, I had my sister. We were all healthy. We lived in a different country every couple of years. We lived on base. We had free health care. I was incredibly privileged. Yeah. I had nothing to really rock my world to think anything of those lines that I'm told from a pulpit or in Sunday school. All of those things that were told to me, I was like, yeah, everything's great. Right. I didn't have to experience any of that pain that I feel like would have altered or changed maybe my thought process a little bit earlier. Right. Now, once I started making friends and I saw that, you know, when you get older and you see that somebody else has a different family life than you do, that did make me stop and question, because that kid didn't mean to be born into that family. So that I did think earlier on, and I did have a hard time, but I just kept remembering my lines and kept remembering what I was told. And so I had to keep telling myself, you know, those same things, but that always bothered me. Wondering, well, why did that kid have to experience that just because they were born into that family? Right. And I was born into this family. You know, that definitely bothered me. But I would say the real turning point for me would, yes, be when Joshua passed.
Yeah.
For me to just kind of be like, because I had removed myself, I had pulled myself away. And then once I pulled myself away, I was able to look back in and see what was happening. And it was like everybody was on this hamster wheel. And I'm like, do you guys fucking see what's going on around you?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, you know, obviously I fell in love with a woman, and then it's like, oh, well, Liz, you know, she couldn't fall in love with a man again, so she had to marry a woman. And then you go down that whole spiel. So then I have
Did somebody tell you that? Did they tell you?
Oh,
come on. Like, really?
I'm listening. I got to plug in because my laptop going to die.
Yeah, it's all good. So someone actually, okay, you got to unpack this.
People, I think, gave me so much grace because of the fact, I do not think that, I also still feel like I'm privileged in the fact that I had an easier time telling people that I was with a woman, because I genuinely think that they felt bad for me, and they were like, oh, well, we're just so glad Liz was able to open her heart up again. So I had another easy pass. I'm still having it a little bit easier than some people that have to come out to their families and say, hey, I'm with this woman, and they have nothing in their, you know, background making somebody want to be a little bit easier on them. But absolutely, I think people thought that I was doing that because I would hear things and it was like, oh, you know, she's just so sad and she never thought she would fall in love again. And I'm just like, okay, if you're straight Could you ever imagine, regardless of if your husband or your wife, depending on who it is, that passes away, if somebody told you right now, Hayne, if your wife passes away, you're going to fall in love with a man just because you missed your wife?
No, I just don't think that's like hardwired in me. That's what's so nuts about that thought.
I know it doesn't make sense. And so that's also what insulted me.
Sure.
I was like, do you guys think that I'm just going to be with women now? That's what I'm going to do. You know,
I feel like it's almost like they even needed to create that narrative to create some order of sense of why would she do this? So I'm going to create this. I'm going to diagnose her. I'm going to be a homemade psychologist and diagnose why this is going on. It's wild.
Yeah. And not that it's anybody's business or you have to explain yourself, but I'm like, I tried to date guys. Like I even went on sites, you know, whatever dating.
Don't say plenty of fish. Don't say it.
No. Do you think I would have gone on that one? No.
I'm just playing. I don't care which one.
You went shopping. You go shopping?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think, what is it? Trader Joe's or Whole Foods?
Trader Joe's
in the produce section. That's where you're supposed to meet your person. Okay. Is where I was told. But I put dudes on it too. Like I didn't care. And I wasn't even ready when I did fall in love again. That came and hit me in the face. And I was like, oh, wow. So that made it even better for me. It wasn't like I was like, hey, I'm ready to date again. That's not how it happened. I met someone and all of those sparks and feelings when you sit next to them, all of that happened again. And so I was like, holy shit, thank you, God. Like I'm able to have this. And then I was like, F me, it's a woman. And now I feel like I'm not going to be able to genuinely be able to explore this out in the open.
Stop
and
it.
I can become
okay
with myself. Wait, what are you saying?
Stop it. Don't you dare say you're not going to be able to experience that. Like I'm so ready to dive in now.
Come on, jump in, bro. Just dive straight in.
I got so many questions. I just want to know how much of you felt like there was a part of you that wasn't able to come out before when you were married to a man.
I hadn't fallen in love with a woman before.
No, I ain't saying fall in love with a woman. I'm saying, was there a part of you that was always there that knew you were attracted to women, or there was a potential for, like, you fell all the way in love with your wife now. So that ain't just started. Like it had to have had a gradual, wait a second, I felt something there. Like it had to have grown into that. It had to get life. Yeah. So did it start when you were with a man, or did it all start when your husband passed?
I think I might be confused, but I will say I always was in, like, I know we've joked, I teach musical theater. Like I've been in the theater world my whole life. So I always felt like part of this community that was very inclusive. And I had this parallel life where I knew what my church side was and my faith was telling me to think. But my parents always taught me to never, judge people. So even though my parents thought, marriage was for a man and a woman, they never, ever made me think anything of somebody that was gay. Like nothing negative was ever really brought up with that subject. I just knew that my faith said no to that. But I always felt comfortable around those people because I was already around those people. It didn't seem like a big deal to me. I think my story is a little bit difficult because when you like both genders, like there's not like a moment where you're like, oh, well, I'm just this way or I'm just this way. You're this way until you realize that you like that way too.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, did you finally accept it, or did you always know?
I think that there was a part of me that always thought that I was a little bit more exploratory. I had, different moments in my life where I was like, okay, I had either a crush on somebody or
that's what I was asking. Like, that makes so much sense to me now.
Okay, sorry. I was like, not sure where the question was. Also, it's like late at night. But yes, like I think I've said it on the podcast. Her name's Christina Radicke. I was a cheerleader. She was older than me, and there was something about her, but I didn't know necessarily what it was, but I was obsessed with her to the point where I went home. My sister's 3 years older than me, and I looked at every single one of her yearbooks and found this girl's picture in every single year.
Liz.
Because I was,
I love it.
I know. Because it was like, I did not realize that's what I was doing. And because I was boy crazy, I didn't think anything of it.
Interesting.
Yeah. See, but now it makes sense to me because you were living in a bubble that didn't even allow that to even be explored. So it's connected. It's connected to fear. Like there's a fear there.
If I lived in a bubble, or if I lived in any sort of an environment where I felt like that would be fostered and that would be okay, and if she was to put any moves on me, then I feel like that would have been a totally different story for me. But yeah, I was in a different bubble. And so that wasn't really an option for me to even explore or even think about.
And being attracted to guys, it was easy to kind of push that away.
Well, yeah. And because I didn't really have that happen to me very often. Like I remember her, and I can't really think of anybody else that I really had a crush on. I think she was really like my only, I'm sure I have like the memory of like Dory the goldfish, but I'm sure I could find other people that I was like, ooh, I'm like super attracted to them. But you know how you have your like celebrity pass? Like Alex and I, I'm like, my celebrity pass is Ashlyn Harris. If I could ever get with Ashlyn Harris, like I would try to get with Ashlyn Harris.
I don't know who that is. I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to look this up.
What?
I don't know.
She was the goalie for the women's national soccer team.
I know who you're talking about.
There were celebrities that I was like, that person is so hot. And I was absolutely attracted to them. Again, I thought that was normal, and I didn't think there was anything of it because I was also boy crazy.
Good choice.
Right?
Good choice.
I can't see because of glare.
But she's a beautiful white girl, Stoy, so that's your wheelhouse.
I already told y'all everything is my wheelhouse.
It is. Like, I love it, man.
But I'm gonna share something with y'all that I ain't never tell anybody. Maybe my friends from when
it's just me and Hayne and thousands of other people.
That's it. But people you don't know.
Yeah. When I was, I don't know, maybe I would say I was like 10 or 11 years old. I would tell my friends, and I don't want to offend nobody at all. I would tell my friends, when I get 21, I'm going to turn gay because I want the best of both worlds.
Wow.
Like that's where my little mind was then.
You're yin and yang.
Yeah. No. I was like, I want the best of both worlds.
Yeah, you want to experience it all.
I want to experience it all. And I would always think that. And that's why I kind of get from Liz, like you got the best of both worlds. You got to the pinnacle with a guy, and you got to a pinnacle with a female, and they were both genuine love. What it sounds like. So,
but it's just the person. It's like I don't even see a gender.
I know what you're saying.
Oh, it's so cool.
And I think for somebody that maybe is like on that spectrum where they're completely straight, they would have no idea what I'm talking about. And I totally understand that. But for me, it really did not matter that it was a female. When you have those exact same feelings that you had or have had hundreds of times with a guy, and you're now having it with a female, clearly it's not a gender thing for me. It's clearly a person. It is a person's energy. It's their personality. It's them. It's not their gender, and everything else really is just the same to me.
I feel so shallow right now.
Well,
why?
I so much more evolved.
Feel shallow because I understand what she's saying. I don't agree all the way because I think the sexual attraction has to be put
it'll be there. It'll be there.
Yeah. But I feel the same way as far as I know I'm attracted to women, but I don't see color. I just see what kind of energy is coming off of them. But my sexual attraction has never been towards any man. That's why I don't agree with that part of it, but I do understand what you're saying by, hey, I got these same feelings and I just see the person. This person is generating this feeling in me. And I think it's beautiful. I love it because my mind is kind of like that, where it's like, I don't want to limit how I feel, and I don't want to limit who I feel it for.
Yeah. Well, and the best thing is when you're surprised, you know, and I think that's what made me so excited when I did first fall in love after his passing, because I was surprised. And so then I was like, well, this is exciting. Like, wow, I didn't know that could happen.
So I have a nephew that's bisexual, and I'm curious about this. We were in a text thread with, I think it was all of us, the whole group. I think part of the joke was we were making a joke about a Hallmark movie. I think that was it. Like, you and the Joshua story's the Hallmark. That's the Hallmark movie. And then we said the Bravo special will be Alex trying to figure out, you know.
Yeah. She's the Bravo special ending the engagement 5 weeks before the wedding.
That's it.
Is Alex there?
Oh, yeah. She's pregnant and nauseous. She's passed out.
Well, the HBO special.
Cameo.
Yeah.
The
HBO miniseries is y'all's relationship, the evolution. But then Joey said, oh, man, when Liz first met Joshua, she thought he was gay.
Oh, yeah. I said to him, and this is why nothing fazed me, because I was like, you are a beautiful man, and we can be friends. I said, it's okay if you're gay. Like, I don't care. I'm a theater major. Like,
what does this theater thing have to do? Y'all make that reference every time, and I don't even get it.
Because, well, so when I first met him, like, our first date was church. Like, when I literally the day that I met him, I said, we were watching the Redskins play in the cocktail section of Chili's, and we were eating buffalo wings and drinking beer, getting ready to go to church, because that's how everybody should get ready to go to church.
Yes.
Because we went to church at night, and I was in college, and so I just thought he was really hot, and I have no filter, and so I was just like, well, he was like, well, what are you guys doing later? And I said, well, we're going to church. Do you want to go with us? And he was like, well, I'm working, but yeah. And so he came with us the next Sunday. And that was like our first date. Like, our first outing was he came with me and the girl that I was with, my sorority sister, and we went to church. But he was so pretty, and he was so like one of the girls, and very much so it did not feel like I was in the car with another dude. I felt like it was three like chicks hanging out, and I was like, he might be gay. And so I was like, I was hitting on him thinking I didn't think he was even hitting on me, because he kept talking about all this philosophical stuff. I had no idea what the hell he was saying. My friend that was in the back seat, he got out of the car and she was like, do you know anything? I was like, I have no idea what the he was talking about. But he is really hot. So that's all that mattered. I was like, he's really hot. And so for the longest time, I did think he was gay, and he got mad. Eventually, he was like, I am not gay. I like you.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, it's okay. We can just be friends. It doesn't matter. But I didn't believe that he really liked me. But I guess he did, clearly.
So would you classify him as being effeminate?
Oh, he was just super metro. His ex-girlfriend bought him a book on being a metrosexual man.
Okay, gotcha.
Like, I saw the book in his closet. Like, he was very metro, which also kind of is like a little bit of like support in my little
transition.
Yeah. So my family member,
I'm like, bells are ringing in Liz's head.
Right. So my family member, he finds very masculine girls attractive and effeminate guys attractive, which is interesting.
Yeah. And I find much more androgynous women attractive, but I don't normally find feminine men attractive, which is why I was kind of like, with Joshua, because I was like, I like a Jason Momoa. At the same time, you guys know who that is, right?
Oh, yeah. Aquaman.
The guy from Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah. I know who you talking about in Khal Drogo.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. So I feel like maybe I don't have a taste, but when it comes to men, I like very, very like strong masculine men. And then Joshua didn't fit that category, but he fit more of like my androgynous, maybe female side that I hadn't explored yet.
Interesting.
Because the other guys I dated were not feminine at all.
Interesting.
Like football player, Alex calls my one ex-boyfriend Eminem because he looked just like Eminem and he acted just like him and he dressed just like him. So none of my previous boyfriends were feminine or metro at all.
Interesting. So getting into the host crew, who's the most metro?
Oh, the host crew? Oh, Joey. 100%. 100% Joey, which is why I feel like him and Joshua got along. He is so much Joe. He crosses his legs when he sits. He does not do the L-shaped thing when he crosses his legs. He crosses them all the way.
All the way. Full closure.
All the way. Yes.
Like testicular cancer, here we come. Just smashing them.
Yes.
So, Stoy, growing up, did you experience Joey as Metro?
No, I just experienced Joey as a rich white friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Joey was cool, man. I just like hanging out with him. He never really pushed any envelope. He always went with the flow, you know? So that's easy to hang around when you're basically just, you don't want to say anything to get anybody riled up. But me, I push the envelope with everything. I'm going to say exactly what I feel when I'm feeling it.
That's beautiful,
and
man.
I'm still that way.
Yeah.
I'm still that way.
That's awesome. So as far as the group, it was a pretty dynamic group. And I think Joey's put together a pretty eclectic group of people. How do you guys experience the group? I mean, I see it as just this really unique group of people with different perspectives, which I think is pretty neat.
I think once we all get on to where our platforms match our personality and our characteristics, I think we can put like these combinations where beautiful conversations going to come out of it, and Joey going to have so much content. I love how he's getting somebody that's really in the church and pairing them with somebody that may, like Liz, that may feel rejected by the church, and he's always trying to get this side and that side and pair them together. I think that's a beautiful thing.
Hey, check it. We'll actually have a book club, and the first book,
Bible.
Lies We Believe About God by Paul Young. That's the guy from The Shack. Did y'all see that? Did y'all see that movie?
No.
Messed up, man.
I have not
I read
seen
the
it,
book.
actually.
I watched the movie and read the book.
That's a beautiful movie.
Shaq, isn't that the Samuel L. Jackson movie? What's that movie called?
Pulp
No,
Fiction.
it's,
Shawshank Redemption?
no, it's Shaft.
Shaft. There's a big difference there.
Yeah, big difference.
Yeah.
That's a good movie.